In the previous video I began making a mitre saw stand and finished off with identifying the location for the fence. I was careful to make sure that the line intersected a part of the blade where there would be no blade travel when pivoting the saw. My table saw doesn't do this and it's very annoying, so at least I can make sure the mitre saw does. I'm now going to make the fence, but I will begin by securing the base of the mitre saw to the collar which will hold the turning component. I'm not using any glue either, as I'm planning to dismantle everything at the end and varnish the individual ply pieces. The turning component fits and you can hear the clicks of the positive stop. I'm beginning by making sure the blade is exactly at 90 degrees to the bed using the digital bevel box. I then cut two strips of 18mm birch ply at 53mm wide, which will go on either side of the fence. The front and longest part of the fence are made from the 18mm ply, while the rear will be made from slightly thicker offcuts which I had lying around. This will help bulk up the fence and provide something to screw through. I double checked the fence line by clamping an engineer straight edge along it, zeroing the bevel box against it and checking the angle of the saw blade. I'm probably going to have to adjust this later, but for now it seems good, so the next step is to cut the various parts of the fence to size. I decided on the measurements by checking and rechecking the physical pieces against the straight edge while moving the saw blade in every position imaginable, and then marking appropriately. The individual pieces on either side are secured using glue and screws from the rear. I was happy with lining up the pieces, but had they moved while gluing, I could have also recut their bottom faces square on the table saw. I am now going to secure the fence to the base, which will involve drilling holes at 90 degrees through the fence on the pillar drill, and then using those holes to drill and mark the base. I worked my way up to 8mm, which is the diameter of the fixings I will use. I also used a Forstner bit to countersink the heads of the machine screws. I made sure to clamp the fence down before drilling the final holes and used pronged wood inserts at the bottom of the base to secure to. As I tightened the machine screws, I noticed the fence pinching onto the moving component of the base.
Bloody hell, that's too tight.
I had to take these off and cut a fraction of a millimetre from the bottom faces to allow the saw to pivot freely. I also cut some angles to the back and front of the fence to allow the full range of movement of the mitre saw. Unsurprisingly, the fence is not square to the blade. To solve this problem, I ever so slightly unscrewed the fence and loosened the machine screws holding the motor in place. I then clamped the moving component of the base down at the 90-degree positive stop position, aligned the fence and blade, and screw everything securely. I make a test cut and you can see it was quite a way off. So the fence is square, although the square is rusty. I then add a number of rubber feet to the bottom of the base and prepare to start the pivot locking mechanism. I want to keep it simple, so I'm using a threaded tensioning rod from a tom drum. I happened to salvage these some time ago. The handle is simple but decorative, and the shaft is long enough to pass through a wood insert with space to push a tightening bolt, the full length of the handle. After cutting some pieces of ply, I prepared to drill the hole. It took me a few attempts to get right, but using a vise and pushing the material against the drill bit before tightening held the material parallel to the drill bit. I'm making this mechanism from 2 pieces of ply. The shorter piece will hold the tightening bolt, which will be made from a large countersunk machine screw. After drilling the hole, I countersunk the space for the head so it would lie flush. It's a nice wide surface to push against the base of the mitre saw. I also countersunk the head of the insert nut on the opposite piece and progressively drilled the hole to the correct size. If it's too tight, it will split the ply when inserted. Anyway, here goes, the moment of truth. Well, that went in nicely, and now I just need to cut the bolt down to the right size. I sized up the ply against the handle, marked it, and shaved off a slice of ply. You can always cut down to your size, but it doesn't work the other way round. And then screwed that onto the underside of the handle, using a G-clamp to hold the piece in position. I also added a few washers to the handle to prevent the bolt being over tightened.
Wow, I've done it.
Done it?
Yeah. It's lockable, so that's a bit of a beefy handle. I think I need to sand it down a bit, but you can move it. Locks.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. You just did it too tight.
I'm going to now dismantle the saw and give the parts a light spray with lacquer. In part 3 I will scribe the degrees in increments of 1 along the front of the base and add a rubber flange to improve the efficiency of the extraction. Don't forget to sacrifice a thumb and also check me out on Instagram where you can find sneaky peeks of future projects.